I don't think I've seen a career fall apart this fast while the guy is still only 22. Two of England's biggest clubs, two blow-ups with two different managers, and now a loan out to a third club less than a year after signing a 7-year contract at the second one. You can't make this up. This is Alejandro Garnacho. And right now, in the summer of 2026, he's not even a Chelsea player anymore. He's just been shipped out on loan to Aston Villa, with Chelsea basically begging someone to take him off their hands. So let's actually talk about what happened here, because 3 years ago this guy was being called the best dribbler on the planet. Rewind to November 2023. Garnacho, 19 years old, scores an overhead kick against Everton from what looks like an impossible angle. It wins the Puskás Award, best goal on planet Earth that season. A teenager with a trophy some absolute legends of the game never got their hands on. That's not hype, by the way, that's just true. So how does a kid go from that to being loaned out twice in 2 years? Let's walk through it. Garnacho made his United debut back in 2022, still a teenager, and from day one he played like he already belonged. Fans loved it. United had spent years looking timid, and here's this kid with zero fear. Under Erik ten Hag, he exploded. Became a starter, a match winner, the guy who could turn a dead Tuesday night into a highlight reel. Across the 2023-24 and 2024-25 seasons, only Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes actually produced more end product for United than he did. That's not a fringe player. That's a guy who had every right to think he was becoming one of the most important players at the club. Then, November 2024, Ruben Amorim walks through the door, and almost immediately, it all starts to unravel. Amorim brings his rigid back three system over from Sporting, and it just doesn't fit Garnacho at all. Ten Hag let him run straight at defenders as a direct winger. Amorim wants wing-backs and inverted forwards, a shape with basically no home for a player who thrives on chaos and one-on-ones. Rashford, Antony, Jadon Sancho, Tyrell Malacia all squeezed out. And eventually Garnacho joins them, in what United fans started calling the bomb squad. Players training away from the first team, with functionally no way back in. There was actually a moment in December where it looked patchable. Garnacho got dropped for the Manchester derby after ignoring instructions while warming up, sent to train away from the group. But the two of them talked it out. He came back, did media duties again, looked settled for a minute. Then came the Europa League final. United lost 1-0 to Tottenham. That result killed any hope of Champions League football and turned an already miserable season into a genuine disaster. Garnacho was left out of the squad entirely, and he didn't take it quietly. Afterward, he made comments suggesting he'd carried the team through the earlier rounds, only to get benched for the one game that actually mattered. Reports say Amorim confronted him in front of the whole squad, and basically told him not to bother coming back for pre-season. His brother piled on too, going after Amorim on social media. None of that helped. By the summer of 2025, the exit had basically written itself. United dropped their asking price from around £60 million all the way down to £40 million just to get it done, and Chelsea won the race for him, beating out Aston Villa, Napoli, and even Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr. Garnacho signed a 7-year deal at Stamford Bridge. 7 years. He told Chelsea's media he couldn't wait to get started, that joining the world champions was special. So here's the part that should have been the redemption arc. Clean slate, huge contract, a real shot to reset the story. Instead, almost a repeat. He scored his first Premier League goal for Chelsea against Sunderland in October, and from there, it's mostly inconsistency. Across the whole 2025-26 season, he made 43 appearances in all competitions but managed just one Premier League goal, with 4 assists mixed in. In and out of the side under Enzo Maresca, a managerial change mid-season, and by the time interim boss Liam Rosenior was running things, Garnacho was on the outside looking in again. There was a rough one against West Ham where he got hooked at half-time with Chelsea already 2 goals down. Pundits said afterward he looked like a player whose confidence had been completely shot. And here's the part that really stings if you're a Garnacho fan. 2 younger, cheaper options in Estevan and Pedro Neto simply played better than him on the wing. Chelsea Academy graduate Tyreek George was earning more trust too, and he ended up getting sold to Everton this summer for a fee that could rise to £24 million. For a guy who was supposed to be the shrewd, ready-made upgrade, getting leapfrogged by teenagers is about as damning as it gets. Then, this summer, Xabi Alonso arrives as Chelsea's new head coach. and the pattern from Manchester United basically repeats itself beat for beat. At his very first press conference, Alonso confirmed straight up that Garnacho wasn't part of his plans, that the winger had missed the start of pre-season, and that Chelsea's sporting directors were actively working to move him on. Garnacho didn't even show up for the club's pre-season tour to Australia. He was simply allowed to stay away while a move got sorted. That move ended up being Aston Villa, a season-long loan, confirmed in late July 2026, with a conditional obligation to buy attached, expected to land somewhere around the £40 million Chelsea originally paid for him. So less than a year after signing a 7-year contract, he's already out the door on loan. And it's not just club football where things have gone sideways. Garnacho was part of Argentina's Copa America winning squad back in 2024, though he only got the one appearance, starting a group stage win over Peru. He was in the frame for Argentina's planning heading toward the 2026 World Cup too. But when the final squad got named, his name wasn't on it. Think about that for a second. A guy who once looked like a lock for Argentina's future, sitting at home while his country goes and competes on the biggest stage in the sport, that's not a small thing for a player his age. That's the kind of absence that tells you exactly how far his stock has fallen in the space of about 18 months. Okay, so here's the question you're probably asking right now. Is Garnacho just not good enough for this level? Or is he a genuinely talented, stubborn kid who keeps landing in tactical systems that were never built for him and reacts badly when he doesn't immediately get his way? Honestly, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Nobody who wins a Puskás Award at 19 is short on ability. That's not up for debate. But talent alone hasn't been enough to save him from becoming, twice now, the player his own manager decided to build the team without. 2 big money moves in 2 years. 2 dressing room breakdowns. 2 managers who decided he simply didn't fit. That is not a normal career path for someone this talented. And look, at 22, he technically still has time on his side. Plenty of wingers have had messy early chapters before finding the right home and the right coach who builds around their strengths instead of trying to coach them out of their game. Here's why Villa might actually make sense though. Unai Emery isn't Amorim, and he isn't Xabi Alonso either. He's not asking for a rigid, positionally perfect system, where a dribble-first winger has nowhere to hide. Emery has spent years getting the best out of wide players who like to run at defenders and create something out of nothing. If there's a manager in the Premier League right now who could actually build around what Garnacho does well instead of coaching it out of him, it might genuinely be this one. And with a conditional obligation to buy already built into the deal, this isn't a token loan either. Villa clearly believe there's a version of this player worth keeping long term. But here's the thing that's followed him since Old Trafford, and it's still true today. Garnacho has never really struggled to make defenders look silly. His real challenge has always been convincing the people running his own locker room that he's worth building a team around. 2 clubs down. Let's see if Villa can be the one that finally gets it right. If this video helped you see Garnacho in a new light, drop a like. It costs nothing, and it really does help push this out to more football fans. And if you're new here, subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of breakdown I do every single week. Appreciate you watching. Catch you next time.